Why hello there. Good evening, or whatever time it may be for you, to Megamush, David the Nomi, and of course, Moonwing. Glad to have you all here, and thank you for the compliments on my art. I am quite proud, if you're still here to hear it, David. Ah, welcome back. Yes, thank you for the kind compliments. I am quite proud of my art, I will say that. Let me just switch to this scene here. Very good. Yes. More Cultist Simulator today, though I will confess I originally had planned to do an art stream as a first today, but then during the preparations I realized that I am very out of practice when it comes to digital art, so I want to get a little bit more back into the groove before I do anything on stream. Otherwise, I think both the viewing experience and my personal enjoyment would be somewhat compromised. You follow me on the bird? Ah. Why, thank you. I mean, if you're rarely on there, that's no worries. I mean, I used to be rarely on there. Nowadays, I do check it out from time to time just because it's a good way to look at art, but other than that, I mean, I understand. But then, let us not waste any more time. Oh, I realize my throat is dry, which is weird because I have drunk quite a bit recently. Ah, that is better. And let us jump back into Cultist Simulator. I'm working on starting a PNG tuber next week, so I'll be on there more, I bet. Oh, that's interesting. In that case, I'll be sure to watch your career with great interest, as they say. The wood grows around the walls of the mansis. As any student of history knows, the mansis has no walls. From Christopher Illapoy, Traveling at Night. Ah, and we are back. I must confess, I have kind of, in the last few days, when I was kind of too busy or wasn't really feeling streaming, I did feel the longing to play more of this game, but, you know, I can't because, you know, I am streaming it, so I am quite happy to be back in here, see this title screen again, and hear the music. So let us not waste any more time, and we shall continue. Where were we, indeed? We have loaded the game. Where were we? Alright, studying the lore of secret histories. History is the scar on the world's skin. Secret histories describe the unknown complexities of the world and its many pasts. To study two unresolved ambiguities to turn them into something more. Betray us? What do you mean? An unresolved ambiguity. In the mansis, the hours strive one against another. As the struggles are resolved, they iron out the impossible, exalt the possible, tie the frying braids of what was, of what has been into one golden ribbon of future. Everything is resolved. History becomes the past. There are, however, exceptions. We were also completing a commission. And otherwise, we had just completed our first expedition to the Evening Isles, where the long still walk. And it shall not be our last. But in the meantime, I believe it might be, well, we could talk to one of our followers to repair this cracked wildering mirror again, but we do need bronze spintri for that, of which we currently have none. We could also use a silver spintria, but they are more valuable. So perhaps it would be a bit of a waste, but then again, we do have quite a few of them. So, why the hell not? Repair a cracked wildering mirror. We can begin to repair this, but it will take at least a bronze spintria to purchase the necessary materials. For a cracked wildering mirror, a deep crack runs across the shimmering metal. A forge aspected follower could repair it with sufficient resources, or I could use up what power remains in it. We shall repair it, using the aid of Valsiane, a disciple of ours. Valsiane is not a machine. We are reasonably confident of that, because she has been observed, now and then, to commit quite human errors. Now and then. Though, the question remains, what could we dream of in the meantime? Perhaps calling it an early night. Maybe we'll get something useful out of it. With luck, I'll wake refreshed. Sometimes this will provide contentment. Often, it will do nothing. Occasionally, it will create dread or fascination. Would it do us anything to explore at this junction? Well, I think not. Well, I usually do keep on top of the game, but you know, I currently will see as it evolves if I feel it necessary to impart any restrictions or rules on the chat, but for now the only rule is to, you know, remain courteous. And, you know, no links, suspicious links, or other, you know, blatant self-promotion. Or promotion of any kind, of course. Oop, what was that? Oh, just, I think, one of the fleeting memories that decayed. Yes, we have become unwell. Unfortunate, but oh well. Oh well, unwell. Ah. A blinking in the light. Now I understand. And we've finished a manuscript for our commission of the good Count Jannings. An early night. Sleep is a long, dark ocean, but sometimes when we reach the farther shore, there is lamplight, and we've gained contentment. I'm happy, I think. Contentment defends against dread, but contentment doesn't last. And to use it to defend against dread we shall, which we have just gained by letting restlessness decay. Dread, I've seen too much. An aimless gnawing fear has its teeth in my hopes, and an existential horror. So, to quell it, to clear our mind, we shall use the contentment. I remember that I was different before. My throat is dry today. There has also been an awful heat around here recently, so maybe that's part of it. My follower needs a bronze spintria, or better, in this case a silver spintria, to complete their task. And now my follower is at work on the mirror. And of course, we still have our position at the board of Glover and Glover. The younger Glover's disappearance left a board seat empty. I now occupy it. The hours of the working day wait in ranks before me. I might just go home after lunch. And we've been successful in our study of the secret histories. 2 unresolved ambiguities have become one vagabond's map. The vagabond is the 1 hour who can never enter the manses, but she goes everywhere else. And, if you believe her boasts, she's the only one who knows all the histories. Sometimes, she lets someone record her travels. Exploring with this scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations in the lone and level sands, far from here. We could do that, of course. But instead, I believe we shall go 1 step further, study these 2 vagabonds' maps. To pay a visit to Port Noon once more. But before that, I think we'll instead start to translate one of these texts. They are from our last expedition to the Evening Isles, and are written in Vak. Before the gods arose from blood, before ever apes stood upright, this was the language heard in the House of the Sun, the most ancient and holy of languages. Luckily we speak it, and these books written in that language contain some of the most ancient and useful secrets. So we have The Origins of Hours, a vague work that may contain gossip about the various origins of the secret gods. 5 Creations. The itinerant scholar Sohei debated 5 possible origins of humanity with a hooded figure since claimed to be the beach crow. Sohei later claimed that all these accounts had proven false, but the debate was, nevertheless, recorded. And A Manual for Departure. The author, who identifies itself as the Jikadu, claims to be one of the great hooded princes of the land of the river. I believe we're going to start with The Origins of Hours, since, if I remember correctly, that was a question I was asked last stream, and this book is a very good way of answering it. So, we begin the translation of a text. Lock the study door. The work begins. And the mirror is repaired. It shines again as it did once before. Wildering mirror, a multiplicity of vistas, a bewilderment of views, gaze upon me and rejoice in the dissolution of your senses. We'll need it to cross the peacock door again. And Now we can also fulfill the commission Count Jannings gave us. Count Gottlob Jannings represents a continental confraternity of physicians and duelists. He has offered you a commission. Oh no, the streams are as chatty as the moment calls for. Sometimes it's more just, you know, narration, but, you know, sometimes it's more interactive. But yes, let us hand in the commission. We've received a Iron Spintria, Erudtion, and Mystique. And this illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I am fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds of vitality. Disease has left me weak. I need rest and nourishment if I am to recover. Dream on an affliction to transform it back to health before the card decays. Unfortunately, we are busy dreaming of something else right now, but all in due time. If Glover and Glover had a heart, it would be the accounts department, where money flows like the tides of spring. Its limbs would be its brisk, hushed administrators and clerks. But I sit with the other directors at the peak of its skull, safe, for now, from scandal and financial concerns. Yes, a board seat pays quite handsomely. We did have to do some unseemly things to get here, as Mr. Alden and Glover Jr. here will attest to. But, oh well. But before we return to that work, I believe we shall first fulfill one of the commissions given to us. I believe I shall go for this one on Grail, because chances are this one will give us a glimmering, which is something we want. Something we need. Oh, right. Of course, this is the one we couldn't fulfill because we don't have the necessary lore. Yes. Wait. A pit. Okay, this headquarters has a pit. Not what we need, but oh well. We've cleared our mind. The sun still moves. The wind still walks. My journals are the labyrinth clue. And we've gained a fleeting reminiscence. A moment in time. In another moment, it'll be gone. So now, next we best cure our affliction, lest it become terminal. No. What else could we do? Could we do something by exploring? Yes, we could actually. Let's send out this pawn here to explore. Maybe they'll find something of use or of interest. In the meantime, we've translated the origins of ours. The sage, an ecstatic Soham, a frequent visitor to the Mansus, claimed to have discoursed with a beach crow in person. Soham later insisted on a sky burial. Interesting, was this not also... Oh. Both this book and this one are about conversations with the beach crow. Perhaps they're not as trustworthy as they claim in this book, but it is a moth text after all. Ah, and we have indeed found what I wanted. Streets strange by moonlight. Sometimes, the light of the moon is a key to other spaces. I found a place where, for a night or two, the streets curve in unfamiliar ways. If I walk here, I might find insight, or I might be touched by madness. Insight is what we look for. Madness? Well, let's hope not. Streets are strange in the hour called the Menascate. Explore an uncanny tangle of streets by the light of the moon. Let's see what we find there. And now that we've translated it, time to read it. Soham's writings veer from poetry to confession. He identifies gods from flesh, those who are mortal, from blood, those who arose from sacrifice, from light, entry from the glory, and from stone, those who arose before his knowledge. He insists that the moth was the first god who was blood, but later contradicts himself and claims it was the Red Grail. Interesting. Huh? The wrong kind of attention. The city is rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long will they leave me in peace? Yes, it seems we have once again attracted the attention of Inspector Wakefield. Zachary Wakefield, a melancholy but remorseless inspector of police. He has recently been seconded to the Suppression Bureau. The empty Mithraneum, you mean? This was a place of worship once. We could make it so again. The Mithraneum, I must confess, I'm not entirely sure what it means either. But I believe it's of an ancient sort of place of worship. Though this one sits empty for now. Though perhaps we could move there. An adversary is asking searching questions about my activities. Luckily, we currently only have mystique clouding us. Mystique. Uncanniness lingers. Mystique may attract the attention of hunters. They can't use it to build a case against you though, but it will encourage them to look harder. Well, Inspector Wakefield can look harder all he wants. There is currently nothing that incriminates us. We have covered our tracks well. Another commission fulfilled. Time to cash in. Ah, we found what I was hoping for. Glimmering. My emotions run higher than usual. There are things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious. But just now, I am closer to them. Glimmering can be used with study to gain passion. It lasts only 3 minutes, if unused. That is one of its uses, but not the one we need it for right now. We'll use it together with the Erduition. I soak up knowledge as a shadow soaks up light. I may be close to advancement. Together we will use them to study the secret histories. We've used funds to buy medicine to heal our affliction. The medicine is dark and bitter as tar. It would be easy to suspect I am being poisoned. But now the sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. We're healed again. This is my body. There are other bodies, but this one is mine. And my mind needs it as a fungus needs soil. We're back to our full extent of health again. Quite good. Quite nice. Which means now there's nothing standing in our way to finally re-enter the Peacock Store again. In my dreams, I've found the way to the Peacock Store, sometimes called the Gate of Eyes or Pride's Dismay. I know the path through the glass garden to the Peacock Store, the most admirable of doors, the door which shines like a mirror. Perhaps, with the right resources, I can pass it. Whoop. The Peacock Store reflects the mirror I hold in my sleep, and the mirror reflects the Peacock Store. Already a sensuous shiver ripples its surface. It aches for fracture, and when it finds that satisfaction, I will enter. Exactly. This meddler will not find anything that endangers us for any time soon. And if he ever does, we have the means to deal with him. So really it is in his best interest that he remain unsuccessful. We've read the origins of ours. The Mansus was different before the first god came from light, but never doubt it existed, even then. Merriam-Webster Mithraea, also Mithraeans, an underground room simulating a cave used for Mithraic rites as initiations. Etymology, New Latin from Greek, Mithraion, shrine of Mithras. From Mithras, Persian god of light and defender of truth. From Old Persian Mithra. Interesting. Interesting. Yes. A temple, an underground temple dedicated to the god of light and truth this place indeed is. Though perhaps most know this god under a different name today. The one in whose shadow we walk. Ah. Yes. But we have read the origins of ours. The content has invoked dread in us, but we have also gained thigh-born thorax sweet, vine-crowned moth king hatched in the thigh of the thunder king who's dead. Drink up his belly lymph, these are the sights you'll see. Moth lore of the 12th intensity. Moth. I knew a man who captured moths in a bell jar. On nights like this, he would release them one by one to die in the candle. Moth is the wild and perilous principle of chaos and yearning. So yes, we have gained dread, but an extremely powerful and potent piece of moth lore. Yes, nature is often a bit icky at times. But before we turn ourselves to the other books, I believe it's time to study the histories. History is less certain than we are taught. I can learn from the study of its blurred edges. All the while, we can gain a new commission from the good Count. Maybe drawing would be a good way to get rid of that dread. Or rather, to gain some contentment. And the Count wants a very substantial commission on Edge. And our first visit to the Mansus tonight, the House of the Sun. The house without walls, where the hours reside. The peacock door is through which we entered. It's interesting, in the regular text it's referred to as the peacock's door, but here it's referred to as the peacock door. Always manages to trip me up. We could remain right at the gate and gain a splendor, or we could explore to the Worm Museum or the Red Church. I believe I'll once again leave it up to the toss of a coin. Yep. Heads, the Worm Museum. Tails, the Red Church. Tails, we visit the Red Church tonight. And we've gained fascination. Perhaps not so ideal. Last night, I visited the Red Church, where the Grail conducts its feasts. The light through the stained glass windows was all the spectra of red, and the names of the Grail labored to birth a new desire which had until today no name at all. I am sticky with the memory of it, and this morning everything I see is tinted ruby. And that's where the fascination went off to. Straight into a trembling in the air. The sun flickers like a shadow. Dreams ripple behind the surface of mirrors. I must be careful not to drift from the waking world. Fascination may provoke visions, and here is the fascination. Light leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. We will have to find a way to deal with that. Oh well. That dread might actually come in handy. And of course, the wildering mirror is now cracked again. Oh yes, I have increased the duration of the lingering of the text on the screen to, I think, a full minute, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps it would do well to explore these streets again before they run out. challenge. Knowledge. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. Provide erudition or use a library. Our hideout does not have a library, but we have erudition. Oh, don't worry, David, I am myself very guilty of typing essays, in other live chats, so I really can't blame you for it. Oh, god damn it. Another fascination. Visions pass me with pavane grace, a window over a wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a woman of glass. I will return home with reluctance. Well, let's hope the dread grips instead, yes. I am seeing things. Paintings whisper. Windows wink. I know these things are not true, but how can I be certain? We can defeat visions with dread or a fleeting reminiscence. Otherwise, we will lose ourselves completely at Fascination 3. Luckily, we could use, or rather, the game has pulled the dread card in here to quell the fascination. Otherwise, this second fascination might have caused some tremendous problems, but luckily, this should take care of it. Well, our permanent guests here do have some use, so I don't want to waste them on anything, because, you know, sometimes getting new ones can be quite a hassle. And Dr. Ibn al-Adim, called the Alpine, has a new commission for us. He has an interest in overlooked history. He could use our assistance. The doctor would like my help with his research. What has he for us this time? Ah. Old, unhappy, far-off things. Moth finds the light in the dark, and so do I. A half-glimpsed wistfulness has touched me, and we gain new restlessness. A restless longing has me. I feel that I want to do something. What exactly? Another commission on secret histories. Yay, hooray, free dread, how wonderful. No, not actually, because we will simply use it in the initiation of one of our acquaintances. Victor here. Victor is a sly fellow, and he knows an unusual opportunity when he sees it. We might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. This one is ready. We shall recruit him by invoking Lantern, the principle of our holy order. The Mirror of Glory, an occult society dedicated to the understanding of the light that leaks from a fiercer place. Dedicated, of course, to Lantern. So let us recruit him. What our studies demand next is glimmering. Luckily, we have taken care to also possess that. Ah. Visions abate. Shadows are shelter from light. Despair is ballast. Even misery has its uses. Each dread quells one fascination. Exactly, that's why I often keep non-recruited acquaintances around that I don't really need yet, just so I can recruit them at the right moment to get rid of some unneeded or unwanted card. I mean, if you can use it in the ritual, why not use it in the ritual? More work at Glover and Glover. And also more commission work. Again, on the secret histories. A dozen lights blaze. There is no place for shadow in these rites, and no place for mercy. Victor is now a believer. Victor is a sly fellow, but loyal. He has dedicated himself to Edge. All conquest occurs at the Edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. Edge is the principle of battle and of struggle. The two referred to in the text here being the Colonel and the Lionsmith, locked in eternal struggle. The world as it is. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm sane, if that means anything. No fascination drives our visions. It's over. For now. And Inspector Wakefield has run out of mystique to harass us over with. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they've found no new clues. What brings the next season? A season of archers. We're all of us both ape and angel. A good season. The Wolf Divided is, in my knowledge, if I recall correctly, one of the hours from nowhere. One of the gods from nowhere. The wound that killed the sun manifested as a god. They are of the Edge aspect amongst other things, but they're not its principal god. Work progresses, and I'm left wondering if there's anything else we could do in the meantime. We could provide fascination, which we do have, but it might breed, or use a library, which we don't have, or employ our rarefied mind skill, which we do have. Perhaps it would be safer to use the rarefied mind skill instead of the fascination. As mentioned, there is a good chance that using it in our studies might multiply it. And we don't really need that right now. Trysts and interludes. If I have a particular friend, now is the time to renew our connection. Solitude. I'm alone, but there is peace in that also. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing, like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. And we gain contentment. Very good. And our commission on the secret histories is fulfilled. An idea, it's middle wordy. About my voice. No, I don't mind. Feel free to... you know, say your piece. Add jazz music, weather, 1920s radio distortion to this and put it on YouTube and sleep ASMR. Some 1920s Cthulhu music. I mean, the game is set in the 1920s, that is true. Thank you. I mean, part of it is also just that the prose of this game is very well worded, I think. It lends itself quite well to narration. Another day at Glover & Glover. So now let's continue working on this commission. Yes, the problem about this game is that it is very opaque, let's say, in its mechanics, so jumping into the middle of a playthrough as an observer can be very hard to follow. I do try to describe in broad brushs what is happening, but the mechanics are very particular, so sometimes it's hard to follow exactly what's going on. Though at the same time, perhaps that's also a good thing, because figuring out the mechanics yourself is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of playing this game yourself, so, you know, I wouldn't want to explain away all the magic. Wildering mirror repaired, just in time for our entrance, once more through the peacock's door. Yeah, there are a few videos on Cultist Simulator, actually, on YouTube, for example. One very good one, which I confess is what got me into the game, is by Mandalore Gaming, who does, you know, reviews of oftentimes more obscure games. Very good reviews. He did one of this game quite a while ago, and it's what got me into it. Again, we stand at the peacock door, the highest of the doors. Again, we flip our coin. Ping. Heads this time. We head to the Worm Museum. And we gain a Vagabond's map. The peacock's door unsealed. Size in the Mansus is negotiable. And so last night in the Worm Museum, I saw one of the worms who took Vienna caged next to a worm taken from the soul of a child. In dreams they are more visible than waking, smooth and dark as jewels. The walls bear stories of the First and Second Worm Wars. The third is too recent to have passed into the histories. Another Vagabond's map. Very good. And of course, the mirror is now once again broken, but we can repair it again. Ah. And the season of ambition has us. Exotic cravings. What hungers drive us? Mortal frustrations. What hungers drive me? The Watchman's light. Even in waking hours, I've begun to see new colors. My curiosity is becoming a physical need. My eyes will be thresholds. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes. But I must have enough lantern aspect. Exploration might find more. I had to think of the, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a clip from, I don't even know which series. A really old series, I think, from animated series from the 90s or 80s. Maybe it was She-Ra or He-Man, I don't know. My precious power ring, gone forever. Ah! But yes, we are once again drawn by our dedication to enlightenment, and we've grown restless. I have dedicated myself to the pursuit of higher understanding. I must see beneath the skin, whatever the cost. This makes an enlightenment victory possible. I must be a true initiate of the Mansus. I'll need to work with lantern aspect to allow the Watchman to see me. Lantern. Life is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Thomas Brown. Lantern is the principle of the secret place, sometimes called the House of the Sun, and of the light above it. The glory. And glory is what we are interested in. Ah. We've increased our knowledge of the secret histories again, and we have gained a second Port Noon anecdote. The first one, of course, long used up to explore in the Evening Isles, but now we have another one. Port Noon is where the Long go to enjoy the sea and the sun, to drink from the spring that makes them forgotten, and to stay out of trouble. Mostly out of trouble. The stories you can hear in the Hotel Ciervo are golden-dewed, quintuple distilled toasts to memory, served straight up. Exploring with this scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations in the Evening Isles, where Port Noon is located, across the Great Ocean. So, basically the Caribbean. Well, if so, then it would probably be secret histories, I'm guessing. And now, with our Port Noon anecdote, we look west to the Evening Isles where the Long still walk. Across a bright, fast sea, Port Noon lies. Exiles, monsters, and visionaries have long favored the waters around it. Perhaps we shouldn't get too close, but it might be useful to get close enough. And we've fulfilled another commission. So now that we've studied that, we can study one of these books. 5 creations on the 5 possible origins for humanity. The Beach Crow. Discussed with the Beach Crow. Time to translate. Lock the study door. The work begins. Meanwhile, what could I talk of? I'm repairing the mirror again, why not? Another commission fulfilled, but we'll have to wait until this repair business is done, until we can hand it in. Ah, and Inspector Wakefield is snooping again, but, well, he won't find anything. Except maybe for some mystique. And we've accrued more dread. Ah. This place merits closer investigation. We found the wreck of the Christabel. A sea beast came to love this vessel, but when she would not return its affections, the sea beast crushed it. Even now, the beast will not leave the ship's corpse. Bedecked as it is with occult treasures, we must dive carefully. A location among the Evening Isles. Perhaps it would be best to not waste any time and explore it right away. What will we need? Storms have lifted the Christabel from the sea to lay it on a reef, but a wreck with such a sad end will carry a curse, and the beast that once loved it remains there still. Expeditions need at least 1 funds per obstacle. Followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. So, to cross the sea, I think we will call on our heart disciples, both for the sea and the curse. Yes, I mean, raccoons digging through the garbage is essentially what it would amount to, but luckily this isn't too close to Port Noon yet, just in the general area. I wonder what raccoons would definitely be moth aspect. They definitely radiate moth aspect in my opinion. Ah, we've translated the 5 creations. The itinerant scholar Sohei debated 5 possible origins of humanity with a hooded figure since claimed to be the beach crow. Sohei later claimed that all these accounts had proven false, but the debate was, nevertheless, recorded. So, let us read the debate yet. The carapace origin. We were born from shell, like the children of the wasp from the spider. The glorious origin. Our life modes descended from light, the origin befouled. We were found naked and smeared with muck in the roots of the wood. Interesting. Another silver spintria for the materials. Unfortunately, we still don't have any bronze ones. But, well, such is life. Another sip. Maybe a good time to paint again. Maybe it'll give us some contentment. So, the expedition sets off. I have given my agents the opportunity to serve. Let us hope it ends well for us all. So what awaits us here? First, of course, a western sea. Most of these islands are well known to the histories, but our destination lies in wild, uncharted waters. We'll need heart or forge to survive. We have heart in ample supply. Younger sister. The mother of ants was born among serpents. She has so very many younger sisters. It can be defeated in battle, or it will respond to the mother's power. And the creeping breath curse. We need heart or grail to suppress this curse. Otherwise, it will not keep us from our goal, but it may trouble us later. Again, we can use the heart of our followers here. Being, of course, Dorothy. Her enthusiasm has become obsession. She will not cease, and oh, and how she loves to dance. And Leo. Leo still yearns to preserve what is good and valuable, but he understands that to protect one's ideals, one must sometimes do questionable things. Both followers of the heart aspect. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. Of the thunder skin. So, to defeat the serpent, we can defeat the serpent in battle, for which we would, can reasonably assume, need edge. Or we can call upon the power of the Mother of Ants, that power being knock. The knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. The knock is the principle that opens and unseams barriers. And the principal hour of knock is the Mother of Ants. So, with our knock followers here, Enid and Neville, we should be able to make it through. Enid sees what others do not. It is becoming difficult for her, but it is very useful. Oh. Damn. Bleak thoughts. Dark days. I must be careful not to let doubts creep in. Dread may provoke full-fledged despair, and of course we have dread on our hand. Yes, Forge is the principle that shapes and creates, so, you know, a vessel. Or Heart, just, you know, swimming. I mean, it is the drumbeat unceasing. With that kind of power, I guess you would have the necessary strength to just, you know, power on through. And the Wildering Mirror is repaired. Now we can also hand in our commission here. The sea around the evening isles. The sea we sail is plagued by storms. The isles we seek are tucked in the corners of unmapped history. We will need Heart or Forge or both. We call upon the Sister and Witch, who cannot be touched. Storms rise for the Thunderskin and subside for the Sister. The right words should carry us safe across the sea. So yeah, Heart is more calling upon the power of the heart to basically bend the storms beneath us and make them subside. There's only been splendors at the Peacock Door as of late, but maybe we'll find something else in the pathways branching from it. Heads, the Worm Museum again. Perfect frost. Last night I visited the Worm Museum, which is both within the Mansus, for security, and without, for safety. The hours have charged the Colonel with its defense, and even the Linesmith does not challenge him here. Winter is the chiefest aspect of this place. The worms thrive where things end, but they can also be ended, and they must if the Mansus is to endure. This morning, the chilly certainty of the Colonel's hand still lies on my shoulder, and we've gained perfect frost. The world is still as ice. Each movement is a journey. A 15th order influence. This might be the personal attention of an hour. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. If unused, it will become dread. Which, a bit of a problem, considering we also already have an issue with dread, but... and a new commission on Lantern. And now we've read this tome. Sohei's preferred theories are that we are the children of apes who walked upright. Although his tone here is satirical, or that we consumed not only our parents, which is not the crime of the sky. Yes, the crime of the sky is to consume one's offspring, not one's parents, but also our origin, so that we came from nowhere. Interesting. We consumed our own origin. Sounds very much, god damn it, more dread. But also devouring mysteries. The Grail was the first god who was blood. The flower maker came from light. The beach crow was flesh. Hunger and greed and yearning are the matrix of appetite. And here is their secret doctrine. Use this formula in rite with bitter black salts and a subtle rupture or similar sources of power to summon Ezim itself. Yes, the Grail was the first god who was blood, so risen from sacrifice. The flower maker came from light, so descended from the glory. The beach crow was flesh, so once mortal, ascended to godhood. The highest order lore in Grail. Yes, exactly. Heart likes to be direct and quite what's the word? Loud, I guess. So now we have one final book to study, but considering the last two generating dread upon reading, and we currently have a problem with dread, maybe we should only translate it for now and leave the reading till later. The author, who identifies itself as the Jekadu, claims to be one of the great hooded princes of the land of the river. Time to translate this work. And also time to take another sippy. An early night, with luck, I'll wake refreshed. Sometimes this will provide contentment, which we hope for. Often it will do nothing. Occasionally it will create dread or fascination. Let us hope against it. Contentment. I've sold a painting. I found a customer. She'll probably hang it in her spare bedroom and never look at it again, but her money is good. So we have contentment, something with which to battle our dread. And funds, but that was never the point of this venture. Funds we can gain more than ample of by simply doing our time at Glover & Glover. Okay. With that, we should defeat this despair. Despair is the wolf that devours thought. You can defeat despair by feeding it contentment, otherwise it will destroy you when it reaches 3 dread. something which we were dangerously close to because we have a dread here. This will eventually evolve into dread also. And yeah, well. But luckily, that contentment came in clutch, so to speak. Ah. And we're safe across the sea. Wave-lashed and seas spattered, sun-scorched and salt-stained, but here. And so now our expedition continues. Should add another fund to give it all it needs to succeed. Okay, translated. A manual for departure. The author, who identifies itself as the Jikadu, claims to be one of the great hooded princes of the land of the river. The style is informal, even chatty. Interesting. Not exactly what you'd expect from an ancient text composed in Vak. But now that the despair is taken care of, I don't think there's too much speaking against just reading it. No, these doors shouldn't be recorded, but if we had only recorded things before we'd had to leave the fifth history, we'd be in a much better state. So here I am writing it down, and if you don't like it, you can sanction me. I wonder if they did. Well, whatever the case, the recording still landed in our laps to our benefits, so let's study it. An early night. Sometimes I have dreamt of a tall woman in a sand-colored coat who stands at the foot of my bed, smiling as she watches me sleep. In that dream, she turns her head with the swiftness of a bird, and her fingers flex like talons. I do not think I dreamt of her last night. If I had, I could not have slept so soundly. And we gain a fleeting reminiscence. A moment in time, in another moment, it'll be gone. Not what we wanted, but oh well. Yes, there are, of course, as all scholars of the histories know, 5 main branches of the histories, 5 histories. The 5th, I believe, was almost entirely overrun by the worms, though I'm not so sure on that. I do know that the first history, also called, I think, the greatest history, is one where a certain Macedonian's conquest never occurred, and the Persian Empire never fell, well into the 15th century. What happened to that history afterwards, I'm not quite certain about, but safe to say, we do not live in that one. Nor do we in the 5th one. But now, we finally have, with these devouring mysteries, the lore we need to fulfill this commission at long last. On Grail. Grail. Hunger, lust, the drowning waters. The principle of Grail honors both the birth and the feast. A younger sister, a serpent. The serpent watches us closely, swaying its great head. Without edge or knock, we cannot prevail against it. We call upon the mother of ants, which ariseth from wounds. The serpent's mouth is large enough to crouch in, its tongue is the thickness of a man's shoulders, but almost certainly it will respect the power we bear, that of our older sister, the mother of ants. Despair abates. Memories of better times keep the wolf from the door. Each contentment destroys one dread. But once again, we're about to gain restlessness from the season of ambitions. Even in the waking hours, I've begun to see new colors. And well, we'll deal with it soon enough. If we can in time, which I don't think we have the ability to. Damn. Never mind. The serpent's sorrow. It lowers its great head. Moisture seeps from its lidless eyes. Is it weeping? What does it remember of its eldest sister, whose power we call upon? Ah, another commission of heart. And we've completed our read of a manual for departure. The manual for departure lists a number of strategies, occult, martial, and political, for quick escapes. Many are irrelevant, obsolete, or enigmatic, but the manual does include a number of powerful techniques for opening portals. More dread from reading such an ancient and perhaps terrifying text, but also mysteries of opening. The Mother of Ants is the child of two rivers. The horned axe is the last god from stone. The Meniscate was born in the moon from light. The wound and the threshold and the revelation are all the gate's aspects, and here is their secret doctrine. Nearly every summoning rite requires knock influence. This lore will provide it. The highest lore of knock. And more dread, which we really should find a way to deal with soon enough. But in the meantime, we'll finally be able to fulfill this commission for me Béchet. The suspicion resulting from the expedition, I will do the same thing as last time. I'll just change locale again. There are still a few places I can slip to, like the unattended church and the empty Mithraneum, also Morland's shop. So that, and there are not that many places in the Evening Isles there is to visit, so, you know, I'll just do that again. The expedition continues. The only obstacle in front of us now is the curse. And the one I'm worried about the most. Actually, before it gets out of hand, let us get rid of this restlessness by turning Victor into a full-fledged disciple. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Although, do I get rid of this, of the dread or the restlessness? The restlessness. More fleeting memories in our dreams. And now we stand before the creeping breath curse. The creeping breath. The treasures ahead lie under a creeping breath curse. Without grail or heart, it may follow us back home and settle like spores into our lungs. We call upon the Ringyu, who is renewed. We're almost certainly strong enough in heart to be secure against the curse. Almost certainly. There are always risks, which in this case is especially troubling. One way to somewhat get rid of this dread is to study it with this chilly atmosphere and this thing. To subvert the edge influence inherent to dread, to create more winter influence. All things end. I will meditate on the triumph of patience over strength. That is possible, in which case I will distance myself from these 4 followers for a while. But I'm afraid those precautions will not be enough. But if the sickness was indeed, the curse was indeed just that, it would make sense why, you know, using heart to protect against it would work, because heart is also, you know, vitae, vitality, health. So now, let us paint again to paint away our restlessness. But I'm afraid I must shortly take my leave. I'll be right back. And I return. Well, fending off plague is indeed a strong indication of being strong in heart, as would also be a general energetic nature, unceasing displays of joy, and other such things. And now let us continue. And now, we have an AC atmosphere again. Though, unfortunately, from the whole ordeal, we do get an edge right back, so maybe wasn't that useful after all. Oh well. Alright, the moment of truth. We come across against the curse. The curse shrivels. Whew. Lucky us. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Ah, more Tristan interludes, so at least we'll gain contentment in a short while. So let us get rid of this in earnest now. He navigates. Now you are the map. He illuminates. You were the darkness. He is not compassionate. You will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. Well, for the most part, I do take precaution against plagues to, you know, not let them bother me, but I'm afraid my own immune system is not exactly the best, so they bother me quite a bit. But now Victor is a disciple. Victor has sharpened his cunning to a concentrated point. Ah, now treasures lie before us. You'll love to see it. And we've sold a painting. More contentment for us to use. Do we still have enough time? Yes, just enough. This shift to end at Glover & Glover before the expedition does. Only by a few seconds, but on a few seconds is all we need. Yes, my flesh likes to falter quite a lot. I definitely am not a heart follower, or not, you know, strong in the aspect of heart, the drumbeat unceasing, as it is called. A closed eye. The ship still stinks of the sea. A sluggish octopus crawls from our lamplight. The timbers are half coral. Where are the bodies of the crew? Only one survivor was recorded. Did the serpent devour the rest? Interesting. Oh. A new season of suspicions. And a new commission from May Bichette. Substantial forge. Nice, that is how we will gain more bronze spintria. But a season of suspicions might mean... No, never mind. The strength and certainty of steel, you mean? Well, I have certainly wished for it at times. Laying there, my body ravished by whatever plague, decides to use it as a home that time, but, well... there have not been many opportunities to... or any opportunities to, shed the flesh for the steel. And so I'm stuck with this lump of meat for the foreseeable future. Alright, the shift ends just in time. A closed eye. We found the captain's cabin. The logbook is here, but its pages are a mass of salt-caked pulp. Someone has scratched a closed eye symbol on the desk where it was chained. Beneath the symbol is a hidden drawer in the desk, which we can wrench open to loot its treasures. What do we find? Yes! We find a writhing caul. Lay your hand on these tattered folds and feel their warmth. Leave your hand upon it, and it will explore the possibilities of embrace. The Book of the White Cat. Stories brought to Penelope of Gordion by a blind white cat. Unfortunately, this is in Phrygian, which we do not speak. The Book of the Extinguished Heart. A Book of Melancholy Prophecy. This is unfortunately in Deep Mandaic, which we also don't speak, but most chiefly of all, we have found the Frangiclave. There we go. Frangiclave. There are keys that open doors, then there are keys that destroy them. This is one hell of a key. 12 knock, and there's another use to it. Well, yes, in time, I believe, embracing the strength and certainty of steel on that red marble will be an option, but not for now, you know. Alright, so we of course also have the notoriety. Certain acts are not quickly forgotten. Notoriety may allow hunters to build a case against us. And notoriety will also cause a scandal with our elevated position at Glover & Glover, something which we want to avoid. So, to get rid of the notoriety in the easiest fashion, we'll just move. A change of premises. Move our organization's headquarters to a new location. This will permanently relocate your headquarters. No return is possible. It can reduce notoriety. And reduce it shall. We go from House Violet. We've painted the walls We've painted the walls within the rich color of the violet chamber. We've cleaned the cobwebs and placed unobtrusive shutters behind all the windows. And we've replaced all the locks. And we shall move to an unattended church. The minister disappeared one night, quite abruptly, with his inner circle and the church's chiefest treasures. I do wonder where those treasures ended up. I do wonder what happened to those treasures, He is widely assumed to have gone to a better place. Possibly a sunny place beside a shining sea. I wonder if that's a reference to Port Noon. We could recruit his leaderless flock and make this our base of operations, which we shall now. Not really because the unattended church is that good of a headquarters, more just to move our premises to get rid of the notoriety. But in any case, in the meantime, let us work on this commission. Yes, this is not a skeleton key, it's the skeleton key, and with it, all doors open. All doors. Passing the peacock's door, a tuning fork hum animates the key in my hand. The peacock's door groans in response. Already a sensuous shiver ripples its surface. It aches for fracture, and when it finds that satisfaction, I will enter. Previously, our visits to the peacock door were quite costly. No longer. And of course, these books, which sadly we cannot translate just yet. Yeah, exactly. Pay no mind to these trinkets that I've gotten from somewhere else. Trust me. Now, speaking of, now that this is no longer of use to us, we can also place it with the others. Perhaps we'll repair it one day, but for now we don't need to. No address is really ever permanent. Like our bodies, we leave them all in the end, but for now, this is home. The heterodox church. Even on Sunday morning, there are quirks in the order of service, but most outsiders don't notice. Outsiders are not invited to the ceremonies we hold at chillier hours. This headquarters has a sanctuary, but unfortunately it's a lot less private. And we've finished the manuscript on Forge. Forge, of course. Fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of the Forge transforms and destroys. Hello, do you have something for me? The commission? I have what was requested. Ah. And I think we'll take the unresolved ambiguity right from the threshold of the peacock door. Yes, donations from generous and kind people who did not object because they were rendered apart or looking in another direction at the time we took them. You know, we didn't want to bother them with asking if we could take it, so we just, left. Last night, I opened the peacock door, and beyond it, in the bright spaces of the house, I met a pilgrim adept. I am almost ready, they said, to pass to the summit of the house, to prepare for the final ascent. Perhaps you'll join me. I will need allies to fight for my place. Here is a story to help you rise. An unresolved ambiguity. Nice. And, unlike our mirror, the phrenic glaive is unharmed from the whole ordeal, ready to be used again at a moment's notice. In the meanwhile, though, perhaps it is high time that we study some of our lantern lore. We do need more of it. For that we need glimmering and erudition. Thankfully, we now have both. Thank you, Minnie. Yeah, right. I mean, if they really wanted the trinkets back, they could have just asked us, instead of mysteriously vanishing to, you know, wherever they went. Time to subvert some of the lore of the wood. The glory is a question, and the moth always answers yes. This will create lantern lore instead of moth. What else could we speak of at this moment? I suppose we always could do the old faithful and speak of esoteric matters. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what we want. There are still a few disciples we've not met yet. Followers, I mean. So maybe this will be just what we need. I flip the coin and... heads. The Worm Museum. Dread. Unfortunate. I dreamt last night of the Worm Museum. The hours have said words about it and warnings before it, but they have left it open to mortal adepts who can prove themselves by reaching it. Perhaps they hope to inspire revulsion against the things that breed in the corpse of the sun. Those things that are here still, always dying, never dead. They came from nowhere, the warnings say. And if they complete their work, the Mansus will be nowhere. One day. Dread. I mean, setting moths on fire is often the consequence of... burning moths are often the consequence of putting lanterns and moths in contact with one another. Yes, the corpse of the sun. The sun in splendor, once one of the hours, killed and divided in the intercalate. Intercalate? I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation, but divided into several parts. One of them being the sun in rags, the Watchman, I think also, the Menace Gate, the wolf divided, and maybe... I'm not sure, actually. Some of the hours were once are parts of the once sun in splendor, who is now divided and dead, and in its corpse, the worms multiplied. Oh no, the sun in splendor is quite dead. How to best get rid of this dread? I'm calling it an early night. Challenge, knowledge, or tuition. we finished our manuscript on Heart. I always feel a little bit iffy leaving a slot unused, but there really isn't much we could explore right now. An early night. Contentment. There we go. Finally. Let's use it right away. To get rid of this dread first, since the other one will decay by itself anyways. Ah, and the course of the heart. Whenever the principle of the heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. Which is good, because the upcoming season is one of sickness. So the vitality will come in quite handy. Now we need intuition. We don't have any glimmering, but our new headquarters does have a sanctuary, a place designed for contemplation and perhaps even peace. I believe the wording is that the worms multiplied in the corpse of the sun in splendor, but did not originate from it, as was stated, the worms originate from nowhere. Much like the gods from nowhere, and perhaps, if one of the books we recently read, on the called I think the Five Origins, maybe humans themselves also came from nowhere once. Vitality, just in time for the sickness. I've become unwell again. Well, it is the 1920s. Healthcare was not the best at the time. Or just medicine in general. We found Elridge, an acquaintance, an elegant man of inelegant habits. We might be able to recruit him. Let us hand in our commission and work on this one. A bit of both, I think. In the end, it's nowhere. Nothing. The void, you could say. Ah, our mind is cleared of any dread. Commission on Moth. Very nice. I believe we will have to take care of this sickness soon enough, but in between that, before we take care of that, we can afford one more visit to the Peacock Door. And speaking of, even though we don't need to anymore, we do now have the bronze Spintria to repair the cracked Wildering Mirror one last time. Not much of a need, but why not? It's important that we don't forget to treat this as soon as we have the chance. Ah, glory is the question, and the moth always answers. Yes, I subverted my loft lore to lantern. So now, we have again an unmerciful tantra. Mercy, saith the Watchman, is found only in shadow. Well, I think the problem is that it's not that easy to you know, dispose of the corpse of the sun itself in any meaningful way. So, well, there we are. I have the feeling that if they could have disposed of the remains in a more dignified way, the other hours, I mean, they would have, but, well, it's the sun. What are you gonna do with it? More restlessness. Another unresolved ambiguity. Perhaps it's time to study the secret histories again. To work ourselves towards another visit to Pot Noon again, or the Evening Isles, rather. But we do need Erdoition for it. The Erdoition we are about to receive from our commission. So, yeah, maybe let's get right to it. Study the histories. History is less certain than we are taught. The bronze Spintria. Now, instead of the commissions, I think I'll paint to get rid of that restlessness. And the Wildering Mirror once again restored until we need it again, which I think won't be for quite some time. Right, we did have a commission to fulfill, and now also another one to receive. Here's the Erdoition we need for the upcoming challenge of our studies. We've also healed from our affliction. And so now let us dream of the Peacock Door again. A commission on heart. Nice. The wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over. Well, it never really began. Oh yes, the major victories as the apostles, not easy. Yes, I can attest to that. Very obscure, very hard to figure out, and you know, there is someone who enjoys nothing more than to make it even more of a nuisance. But I think, as a final challenge for this game's many secrets and mysteries, it's well worth it. But, you know, one needs to really read between the lines, sometimes to actually figure it out. Next, intuition, glimmering, which we also have. Alright. The Peacock Door offers only fascination, so the coin it is. Heads again. The Worm Museum again. Perfect frost. Not much to do with it, but oh well. Since we don't need to repair a mirror every time anymore, we can just go right back in. Next. Moth or heart? It's not a challenge nor a danger, it's not a nuance that thrives on my body. Pressurizing. You mean it's mostly annoying? I mean, I can... Yeah, I can kind of, attest that it can be a little bit, but I think it's fine, mostly. Maybe a little bit. Oh, I've become ill again. Wonderful. Illumination. Tails this time. The Red Church then. And fascination. Ah, right during a trembling in the air. Oh my god. Okay. This fleeting reminiscence is going to dissolve 1/10 of a second before it could be used here. Oh dear. Okay. Maybe we could explore it to let memory guide our steps. My thoughts will wander and I will follow. Old emotions will come to roost. Alright, the Auditor's Sting. Quite deadly early on, though later on less so. There are definitely nastier things that can be thrown at you as an apostle. God. Shh. Curses. More fascination, even. We are dangerously close to... Well. I am seeing things. The world is dangerously bright. Two fascination. If it reaches 3, we risk losing ourselves forever. This bitter atmosphere will decay into dread eventually, which will help, but yeah, we have a problem. The unfortunate thing is also that getting contentment is a lot more easy than getting a fleeting reminiscence or dread, at least reliably. After this run, going Apostle or switching to the DLC, I was actually thinking of switching to the DLC because I have already done the Apostle runs. But I have, however, not played the DLC yet, so it'll actually be a blind playthrough for me. You know, at least of the new parts that come from the DLCs. an icy atmosphere, so in a few minutes this will be dread, but until then we have to be on our toes indeed. I suppose we could always go to the Peacock store and repeatedly enter the Worm Museum, because I do know that the Worm Museum only holds, at worst, dread, which would actually help us. I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one we know, again, and now we hold 2 Vagabond's maps. Oh, luckily the next season isn't one of dread. That would have been unfortunate. So what to study next? The secret histories again, but for that we would need Erduition. Though Erduition we are also due to receive relatively soon, so... Well, yes. Without risks, one cannot reap any rewards. But currently, the risks are actually somewhat minimal. Well, reasonably speaking, minimal. So now, I won't toss the coin because we want to go to the Worm Museum. We've gotten a Vagabond's map, not what we need exactly at this time, but also very welcome. And so, again, a commission, which also gave us the Erduition we'll need for our studies. And we're also due to receive another commission. Next season is one of Ardur's... Ardur's? I don't know how to pronounce it, but... Well, we are winning. Welcome back, by the way, first of all. But we are also dangerously close to losing our minds. But, worry not, I have it under control. Trust me, I definitely have it under control. We are in the process of dealing with the situation. The world is dangerously bright, but I do have ways to get some darkness. Like this, for example, a chilly atmosphere. About to become dread, which will give said darkness. A challenge of knowledge. A puzzle with missing pieces. Erduition to give what it needs. The Commission of Moth. Brief treatise on Moth. There, dread. Well, there are actually quite a few poets whose writing is used as an inspiration or reference in this game. For example, Vergil's very famous Ingirum imus nocte et consumimur igni occurs at multiple parts in this game because it is heavily associated with the aspect of the moth in this canon. But there are also works, I think, from other, usually more ancient poets that are invoked here, but not exclusively. But actually, when it comes to writers, not poets, the work that most closely probably served as an inspiration for this game is N.W. Chambers' The King in Yellow, which was also a major inspiration for H.P. Lovecraft, I believe. That would be Virgil, the quite famous Roman poet who wrote the which one was it? The Aeneid? Yes, I think the Aeneid was it, which he wrote. Ah, more dread, just what we needed. And for once, I'm not being sarcastic about that. Ah. Shadows are shelter from light, despair is ballast, even misery has its uses. And with it, we gain the necessary weight to let the visions abate. A challenge in intuition, we don't have any glimmering, but our headquarters do have a sanctuary, which is just as good. A brief treatise on moth, and I think that moth is about to say, "Woe, restlessness upon thee." Oh well. Yeah, more restlessness. Ah yes, Moonwing, I was indeed very close to the Watchman, but perhaps not in the way I wanted. For I am not quite ready to face the Watchman in earnest yet. The marks are not yet on my body. Even though I have begun to notice certain changes as the season of ambition stays, even in waking hours I've begun to notice new colors. So, passion to get rid of the restlessness. Well, in all honesty, I've also not read any works of Virgil. I only know some of the things that happen in the Aeneid. And I don't believe he is commonly studied in any, you know, standard curriculum, unless you study Latin, that is. Yes, the Sanctuary's effect is... Ah, finally. Inner peace. Alright, the Commission on Secret Histories. Commissions on Secret Histories are always from Dr. Ibn al-Adim, but I believe, yeah, the flavor text, or... I mean, I say flavor text, but this text can at times actually be very useful and necessary. Does also state that it's from him. Speaking of histories, we're about to complete our study of it. Ah yes, like I said, even in waking hours I've begun to see new colors. My curiosity is becoming a physical need. My eyes will be thresholds. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes. But I must have enough lantern aspect. Exploration might find more. I might actually have enough by now to initiate the changes, but I want to be ready for the changes before I do so, you know. Oh, and this restlessness I can deal with by using it in a right. Elridge here, an elegant man of inelegant habits, is about to be recruited. This one is ready. So now that we're not in dire need of dread anymore, I can return to the coin for our arbiter of, well, which path we want to go down to this night. But it chooses the War Museum regardless, and gives us another Vagabond's map. A dozen lights blaze. There is no place for shadow in these rites, and no place for mercy. Elridge is now a believer. Elridge has almost learned to not pick his teeth with his knife in conversation. He has not yet learned to leave his knife in his boot. Unsurprisingly, he is a follower of Edge. Interesting. Yeah, Virgil had certainly a way with words. I mean, he is an extremely famous poet for a reason, whose works have endured the centuries. Yeah, that was way back during the White Door, I remember. And you might remember, Moonwing, that I said that if I remember correctly, I did allude that something like that may be in store for us in the future. And yes, I was, of course, referring to the Franiclave. How do you... Frangiclave. I also have no idea what that word means, but I'm sure it has some esoteric meaning. So now we have another Port Noon anecdote. New stuff to explore. Hooray. But in the meantime, I think we might study more lantern, or rather subvert more moth to lantern. But we need Erduition for that. Oh. Hello. Yes, you're free to. Though I will say that, from my experience, the delay on YouTube for the messages is quite a bit larger than on Twitch. I think this is in part because, you know, the background API for YouTube is a very big mess, so the program has some issues. The program that I use for the dual chat has some issues picking it up. What else could I speak of? Alright, getting a new commission, of course. This one of Grail. The coin has merrily bounced around the room, but it has landed on tails. So, again to the Red Church. Oh. Each of the stained glass windows of the Red Church is devoted to a distinct appetite, and the scenes they show are from life. Last night, in one of the uglier windows, I saw the appetites of a certain public figure satisfied in private. I know he won't want this information made public. Perhaps he'll show me some consideration. I do not want to know what kind of scenes were displayed in that stained window. But we've gained from it a favor from authority. I've learned something that will earn me a favor once only. This will preserve you or a follower from imprisonment, but it cannot be relied on. Nice. I mean, yeah, that is quite understandable. Perhaps with the dual chat it would be more... it would make more sense to remove the slow disappearance of the chat entirely, but yeah, I'll meditate on it. I'm wondering if it's even that necessary to revisit the Peacock store by now, but we don't really have necessarily anything better to do right now, so yeah, sure, why not? And I think it's by now soon enough that we can begin to subvert the lore of the wood again. This place merits closer investigation. Fort Garrick. 300 years ago, a rapacious empire claimed an island ripe with tourmalines. What's a tourmaline? Never mind. Neither the empire nor the island are mentioned in any reputable history, but the governor's fortress remains. Perhaps his treasures remain. For that matter, perhaps he does, too. Interesting. Interesting. Actually, I never tried that out. Good question. Does the Frankenglaive work on just the Peacock door or on all doors? Actually, let me real quick try something. No, I think it only works on the Peacock door because the Peacock door specifically accepts tools in its ascent slot, which the other doors don't, so I don't think you could slot the Frankenglaive into the other doors, but I'm not sure entirely. Since we aren't as pressed to visit the Peacock store anymore, we could try it out next night. But now, Fort Garrick. Let's see what awaits us here. A crumbling sandstone fortress broods over an empty bay. At night, the dead walk. By day, they lie in wait. In a sealed vault, the old governor's hoard awaits its plunderer. A sealed vault, so... which will probably need forge to open it, as will the ocean to cross it, so we'll send our forge followers first. Valsiane and Laidlaw. Valsiane is not a machine. We are reasonably confident of that, because she has been observed now and then to commit quite human errors. And Laidlaw. Laidlaw has learned the clever uses of fire and copper, wax and acid. Good one. Yeah, he is a big tool, but, you know, perhaps not in our service at the moment. We could change that, but... I think getting rid of him, getting rid of him altogether would be the easier route to take. Alright, the commission on edge, and now I really hope that I'm not wrong in my assumption that fulfilling this commission will give us Erduition. It should, but I could also be wrong. Let's hope I'm not. Aha, I was right. It did indeed give us the Erduition we need. And so now, what awaits us here? The Western Sea? The fretful dead. Not all the dead rest easy. These ones dislike our intrusion. We can prevail against them with edge, or they may obey one who comes in the name of winter. And a warded door. An engineer or an adept has ensured this door will not open easily. Forge or knock will defeat it. So for the first and third obstacle we have Forge, but for the second we need Winter or Edge. We really have a free choice now, but I think we'll go with Winter. It's, I think, the safer approach. I could be wrong, but certainly it's the more elegant one when it comes to the dead. Oh. The Peacock Door itself offers us an unresolved ambiguity. No need to explore it tonight. Last night... Alright, we already read this quite recently. No need to repeat myself too much. So now, why don't we try out the spider's door? Yeah. We need lore or a prisoner. We can't, unfortunately, use the Frangiclave for this door, only the Peacock Door. Oh well. Knowledge, for which we have the Erduition. Sickness, for which we do have Vitality. A sailor's surety. Our forge skills represent plenty of expertise. We'll almost certainly make it through. What more assistance could they use? The second Winter Disciple. Those two being, of course, Auclair. She rarely speaks. She chooses her words with care. Even her movements have become economical. She is never seen to blink. And Violet. Violet is always very careful. Both devoted to winter. Winter is the principle of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. Runtego Part 1. You will have... Interesting. Alright, I'll work at Glover and Glover, which leaves us with 2 commissions to work on, Secret Histories or Grail. Secret Histories first. Safe across the sea. Very good. Wave lashed and sea spattered, sun scorched and salt stained. But here, the first challenge is overcome. Oh damn it. Our vitality won't last after all. Though, perhaps if we cheese it just a little bit, it might. By holding it in place here, we momentarily freeze the timer, and so it will survive. Yeah, I was not worried about that. I was just interested. Interesting. Morantigo part 1. Maybe... I'll try to remember that. But for now, we need intuition for our lore. Actually, if I just try to remember it, I certainly will forget, so let me write it down. Because I am also in search of some good ambient music, both potentially for the stream, but also other stuff, like, for example, D&D campaigns, so... Alright. Written down on the whiteboard. If we add one more fund, that should be all they need for this expedition, unless of course they falter at some point. Which is possible, but in this case wouldn't be so tragic because there's no curse on this expedition. Profound and restful sleep, because we didn't provide the spider's door with a prisoner, because honestly I don't think it's worth it. I dreamt of nothing at all. I woke and stretched and rose without haste. Those quiet hours have left me energized. We've gained vitality. Quite ironically, since we did just lose the vitality I originally wanted to cure this affliction with, but we've gained a new one. Nice. All I need now is time. Vitality, exercise, or something rarer has invigorated me. Another commission fulfilled. Let us hand it in. Yes, I think this time we'll go to... Where is it? There. Morland's shop. Since it's now empty, we can put up set up shop there ourselves. So now, the fretful dead. The dead clot the air around us like stale corpse light. Without edge or winter, we have no chance against them. We call upon the ivory dove, who knows the names of all the dead. The dead circle the edges of our vision like frayed dreams. The very air around us is chill with winter's shadow. They must recognize that. Yes, 10 winter should be more than enough. Though there's never certainty in these things, so... But well, even if it doesn't work, the worst that'll happen is that one of our followers gets injured. Which, you know... I mean, it's not great, but like... I can live with it. Hehehe. Illumination, and we have a rarefied mind skill for that. Ah, the wary dead. The dead draw back, their almost faces flat and watchful. They will not trouble us. Well, how thoughtful of them. Thank you, dead. What was this? Substantial. Alright, so we'll need... Yeah, literally chill enough to pass. That's a very good point, actually. I had never thought about it like that, but you're actually genuinely correct. Ah, the sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. Oh. Big scary noise outside my room. Don't know if you heard it, but I definitely did. wonder, what could we dream of now? More Peacock Store is always an option, of course, but... yeah, sure, why not? Expedition continues. Now all that lies before us is a warded door. I mean, yeah, it's technically true is the best kind of true. That is true. I do also subscribe to that notion. And we've been successful. A blinking in the light. Now I understand! More lantern lore. Just what we need. And also, if I look at our funds, we have accrued quite a bit. 113. Maybe soon enough we won't need Glover and Glover anymore. Maybe soon enough we can return to some more interesting activities. Another unresolved ambiguity. Interesting. Another commission fulfilled. Very nice. The death of a door, very good. All doors must open, as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. After it called upon the Forge of Days who will end all nights. And indeed we shattered the warded door. Oh. The light above. The glory is a question, and the moth always answers yes. I've subverted my moth lore to lantern. A Fanian invocation, the door in the eye navigates. He is not merciful, but first and always, he illuminates. Use this in a rite, with a knock tool and thrilling air, or other resources of equal power to summon a hint from behind the mirrors. Slowly but surely, we accrue more lantern. Well, studying unresolved ambiguities, however, does give more enlightenment, so, well, who's to say, really? However, we're once again confronted with the question of what to study next. Perhaps these two Ecdesiast's parables. The Ecdesiast's riddle is, what may be lost? Each Ecdesiast's parable is an attempt to answer the riddle. We have all we need, so... Study the lore of the wood. When breath is black at the glass, when mist tautens the skin, when woods walk in winter, we hear these words. Yes, I mean, we have the literal mysteries of opening, which is about as much knock as you can get. And of course, the Frengiclave. Oh, right. Now, I'm confronted with the question of what to do next. We could... Yeah, we will move once again, for the last time this time, to protect our board seat at Glover and Glover, but I think after that, we won't be so careful to avoid risking it anymore because it has somewhat outran its usefulness. We have quite a bit of funds, 117. So, and we're also nearing the end of our ascension, so it isn't really as necessary anymore. Yeah, the skeleton key, well, maybe not a gun, but more so explosives, if Forge is concerned. Treasures lie before us. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. Yeah, right. That does not need to concern us at the moment. Actually, right. Coin, help me. Tails. Red Church fascination. Unfortunate. But we do have a fleeting reminiscence right here, so it's not the end of the world. Actually, maybe the notoriety will actually fall into the detective's hands, which does also have the potential of ending poorly. Let's see. Intuition, we have the glimmering. Yes, the one is not the principle of change, that would be Mothmore. Knock is just the principle of opening. So, you know, wherever there is a door, no matter what type, Forge will open it. Whereas, no, Knock will open it, whereas Forge can only open certain doors, you know, the kind that, can be opened with explosives. There are, for example, also hidden doors, which, you know, if you don't know where the door is, explosives won't really help you. But right, so the notoriety has actually ended up in the hands of the inspector here, which is an unexpected turn of events, a little bit at least. But also not entirely to our loss, because it does mean that our board seat is, for the moment, secure, but it does, at the same time, also mean that, yeah, well, the detective will be able to construct evidence, or find evidence, rather. So, let us see what we found here. The governor's last move. The vault of Fort Garrick. A mosaic has been laid out as a game board of stupendous size and complexity. A map of the Evening Isles. The sea tiles are lapis, the islands are nephrite and obsidian. There are toy ships and tin soldiers. The Isle of St. Thomas is sieged. Raven Isle is crowned with black chess queens. I wonder what that means. The Isle of St. Thomas? Is this the Isle of St. Thomas? Oh god, this is gonna... Promise by the day line, wait. No, it doesn't say. And now all the way back here. Or maybe the Isle of St. Thomas was the place where the Christabel wrecked. Whatever the case, the Isle of St. Thomas is sieged. Raven Isle, a place we also paid a visit to earlier, is crowded with black chess queens. Maybe that's supposed to be the Sukoyans. well, if the building is reduced to a smoldering crater, that would also destroy the contents of whatever the door is trying to conceal, right? But among the game pieces, items of true power have been used as temporary markers. Was this an attempt to hide them? Or did the governor know nothing of their real worth? So let us see what we've got. Of course, we've got the notoriety, which now sits with the inspector, but we have also got a carcass spark, a remnant of a greater radiance glowing softly as decay, just possibly a mote of the divided sun. The true blood of Saint Januarius, the Thunderskin protected the one they called Januarius against perils from every past. To this day, his blood keeps dancing. The Time of Division, a book in Dietmar-Dijk, in which Amira Zara prophesies the events later known as the Intercalate. Yes, the Intercalate, where the hour called Sun in Splendor will be divided. Interesting, so this was a book that prophesied the division, which at this point has already occurred. And my deeds, my powers, my achievements. My deeds, my powers, my achievements, and the injustices perpetrated against me. This text is in Fuchin, actually. Fukin? I don't know. So we could translate it. Can translate it. Will translate it. These tools are also quite useful. And these books. Well, once we've finished our study of the lore of the woods, that is. Right, yeah. Carcass Spark 12 Forge. Quite useful and quite necessary for certain paths, but not ours. Alright, composure. Now what could we dream of now? Again, the Peacock's Door is always an option, of course, but we have quite a few Vagabond's maps already. Then again, why not? We don't really have much else to do. Illumination. Converting clues to evidence. If a hunter has found notoriety, they will try to use it to create or upgrade evidence. Luckily they don't have any yet, so they'll have to create tentative evidence first. If they're meticulous, they'll always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail. But they can occasionally create evidence even without notoriety. This one is meticulous, so they will always succeed, which means, once this timer runs out, there will be tentative evidence on the board. And I want to send this one to get rid of it. Porter. He goes unnoticed until he's ready. Strong in moth. Just the type I need to get rid of that evidence. Very substantial forge. Huh, shockingly enough, I don't actually have what I need to do this. But I do have the necessary lore for this treatise on histories. Yes. My goal, after all, is enlightenment, not power. At least this time. Rumor squats on rooftops and flutters in gutters. This hunter is making progress in their investigation. And the coin. Always useful. Bing. Heads. The Worm Museum then. Perfect frost. If we wanted to do something with winter, this would be the ideal opportunity. Hold on a sec, we do want to do something with winter, actually. So this could actually be quite useful, for once. Yes. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Tentative evidence. A hunter has found evidence, real or imagined, of my sins. Hunters with evidence of occult activities become more dangerous. Evidence may survive the death of the hunter who created it. But luckily, we can send a devious minion to destroy evidence. My scheme will most likely succeed. There is always a chance that something will go awry. Yeah, such accidents happen. Sometimes evidence does fall into a paper shredder, which falls into a wood chipper, which then falls, into an industrial press, which then spontaneously combusts with the entire warehouse. Accidents happen, especially when moths are concerned. Alright, we wait with bated breath. Tampering with records, I await word. Ah, my minion has returned. The evidence has been destroyed. I am a little safer. But actually, now that I've made the decision that it might be about time to return to some more, shall we say, dubious activities, since we have, for the past few, in the past few times, laid low more or less because of our board seat. It might also be about time to find a way to deal with the inspector. Ah, the lore of the wood. I've increased my mastery of the lore of the wood, which we call by its aspect, moth. Moldy wrap, admonitions. Moldy warp. Moldy warp keeps her crowns in the moss and her feet in the dirt, and the trees locked jaw tight. Moldy wrap has these warnings for you. Keeps her crowns in the moss and her feet in the dirt, and the trees locked jaw tight. Interesting. Moldy wrap. Name doesn't mean much to me, I have to confess, but interesting. Now next we could subvert again the lore of the wood, but I think we'll read this text first. Not this one, this one. Or rather, translate it first. With our knowledge of Fuchin, a people lived east of the lost lake of Fucino. Horus warned that theirs was the land of witches. This was their language, called by some the dry tongue, and by others the tongue of witches. Some books must be translated before they can be read. So let us do just that. Another commission fulfilled. Right, the perfect frost is about to decay. into a bitter atmosphere. Winter passes the clothes, passes the skin, nestles in the veins. A 10th order influence. A gathering knot of power and peril. Yeah, I mean, again, such things happen from time to time, you know. So now, speaking of, I think it's finally time to summon something again. But what, I wonder? And with what right? We have the right of the map's edge here, which needs an offering and an instrument. An instrument. Some knock. Smoky if I add lantern. Is this enough? No. This is not enough lantern, unfortunately. But... I could, of course, also use this. And, oh no, actually, maybe we'll use this right instead. A chalice. An invocation. Summoning something. There are possibilities here. If I add moth, I might contact something shapeless. If I add forge, I might contact a seductive, savage power. And an offering we have of forge in the form of the bronze spintria. They have 4 forge, and with them we can summon one of the name emanations of the Red Grail. Azim may enter only where the Grail power is strong, and it will choose to enter only when invoked with the forge with which it has flirted so often. Well, we could do that, but, I mean, instead we could just summon Azim here. We'll also do what we need of him, and provide us with some other benefits. Speaking of which, we have translated my deeds, my powers, my achievements. My deeds, my powers, my achievements, and the injustices perpetrated against me. Hokobold of Poskind, formerly of the Order of Immortals called by some the House of Lethe, settles scores. Interesting. Hokobold boasts of his royal descent and insists that the magic of the forge are more effective when practiced by those of noble blood. I'm not so sure about that. Also, I believe the Order of Lethe is an English order of forgelongs who conquered much of Europe in one of the histories. Interesting. This summoning could go slightly awry, which is what I'm slightly worried about, but well. Ah, never mind. So many rich aromas, like a feast upon the air, but first and mostly blood. Azim the second, thirstily, change me, change me, change me harder. Now, my turn. 12 grail, 12 edge. There is nothing deadlier that we could send upon someone. Also, by the way, a tutor. A Phrygian speaker. This spirit may be able to teach us Phrygian if we know a related tongue. But first, we have a different task for this one. Speak to something we have summoned. Not everything from the Mansus can speak, but everything can understand mortal speech, even once it has passed the white door. And what we will tell them, of course, is to deal with Inspector Wakefield. Send an unstoppable force to murder a hunter. Unless this hunter has some unusual protection, they're already dead. But their demise will attract attention. No matter. In the meantime, I think, let us explore one of these unresolved ambiguities. To hunt for treasures in the Rending Mountains. The Rending Mountains, it has been said, tear the flesh of history. It has generally only been said by people like Christopher Illopoli, but still, they are a good region to find the places that daylight history does not recognize. Boxind complains of his condemnation by the Ordo Limiae. He acknowledges that he has undergone alterations after the consummation of that particular delight, but insists that these changes are both elegant and inevitable. Who is the fire and who the fuel? He asks rhetorically. Consummation of that particular delight. Oh. I think he committed the crime of the sky. Either that or he betrayed the forge for the Grail. I'm not quite sure, but from it we have gained a furnace Panean. This is the hymn of the heat the heat sings to the iron. If we imitate it faithfully enough, we'll parch our lips and crisp our tongue. But oh, the rewards. Use this in a rite with a consecrated lintel and a little refulgin or other resources of equal power to summon King Crucible. Yeah, I mean, Izim is nothing if not thirsty. I mean, it was nice knowing the inspector, but now I think it's time for him to move on. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think once that's done, or dealt with in the detective's case, I guess, I think it would be prudent to call it a night for today. We have gone on for quite some time, after all. Hunting a hunter, I await word. My minion has returned with a prisoner. Inspector Wakefield captured. Zachary Wakefield, a melancholy but remorseless inspector of police. Let us be sure he dies in captivity. Of course, someone as, a man of his skills, of course, won't be contained forever, but we can contain him more than long enough. And we, of course, have gained notoriety, which I think, this time, we'll get rid of by the board seat. As I've mentioned before, we don't really need it anymore. So, let us invoke a scandal which will also get rid of the notoriety. And, at the same time, let us study Phrygian with a quite unusual tutor. Phrygian, the Great Mother's tongue. Of course, if you have enough Greek, I guarantee that the experience of learning Phrygian will be very pleasant. And Greek we have indeed. My Greek will serve as a foundation. I'll learn everything I can. And we have discovered a new place in the Rending Mountains. Snow's Keeper, a mountain peak temple of ill-omened aspect. Jewel-bright fungus slicks glow in the snow. None has come here. None have come here, I think, in a generation, but still something moves within. Interesting. I don't think I've ever actually gotten this card. I rarely explore in the Rending Mountains. And now that we don't need to worry about notoriety anymore, really, we can also visit the Ecdysis Club again to gain some contentment. The entrance is lost beneath soft drapes of crimson, cinnabar and incarnadine. Above the door, the club motto, Ingirum imus nocte et consumimur igni. It has been rendered as, into the night circle we fly, until the fire enjoys us. Oh god, 3 dread. That's not good. Oh, oh. Ooh. Not good, not good, not good. Not good at all. Actually, for once, I think I'll, because we have 3 dread and a season of dread is upon us, I'll purchase a tincture of opium. In times of a special crisis, I might visit a discreet pharmacist to purchase a tincture of opium and make my dreams sweet. But only in times of a special crisis. This is an expensive and risky way to gain contentment. It might provoke sickness or despair. It's not that risky, honestly, but I still like to use it only very infrequently. Ah, damn. An interruption at the Ecdysis Club. The performance ends immediately. The lights come up. We are ushered from our seats and urged into the street. It's never clear what happened, but the club staff seem prepared, as if this has happened before. Lights bloom in nearby windows, and passers-bys gawp at the crowd of guests dispersing into the night. We have more notoriety. Not really that much of an issue, but oh well. With the help of Izim, all reputation becomes irrelevant. Orc and Glover. Oh! It looks like nothing has come of the notoriety after all. Oh, well, in that case, don't mind me. Purchase a tincture of opium. Oh, that deep peace. But I should not do this again. 1 contentment, with which to get rid of 1 dread. The board is still somewhat stacked against us, but at least now it's not as dangerous anymore. Another commission, and to deal with this notoriety, we can employ one of our heart followers. Occult business, charm. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. Alright, I did plan to actually finish after I had dealt with the detective, but I do want to overcome this dread crisis first, so, you know. That's the issue with this game. Things are always in motion, so sometimes finding a point to end off to cut off can be hard. Herodotus tells a wild story of a pharaoh who discovered the Phrygian language was the first spoken by humans. He was wrong, of course. It was Vak. But everyone enjoys the story. Herodotus, actually the Greek scholar from which the word history, a word very relevant to this game, is from originally. Because he would travel the world and basically collect stories of, you know, things that happened in that area. Of course, not very, so his, and then write these stories down. So his accounts obviously not very reliable because he almost exclusively had secondary or even tertiary sources with which he didn't fact check at all. But for that particular part of history, it's the only thing written down we have at all. So he is still considered the first historian, hence giving his name to the whole field. Herodotus Historia. So now we have Phrygian. The Phrygians worshipped the Great Mother, who we call the Grail. Theirs was the land in which the Sisterhood of the Knot was born, and this is the tongue in which the Thunderskin pleaded at his ascension. Nice. So now we can finally read these Phrygian texts, the Book of the White Cat, and also the Concursum Diaries. Since this one is bright yellow, I'm assuming it's Grail, and because of that, we will read it first, or translate it first, because, you know, we do need more lantern, chiefly before all other things. And I think I'll send Azim to explore, to preserve him for a while. And there come the bleak thoughts, ready to gobble up my dread. Not good, not good. A hireling. A professional muscle. Not needed. But then again, I could always use a few more prisoners. So sure, why not, why not? Paint. I finished a painting to the excitement of absolutely no one but me. We got glimmering. I hoped for contentment, but beggars, choosers, all that. Let me wait until this grabs the notoriety, and then... Yes, that's far more elegant. The second dread. Things are beginning to become a bit dicey. The Concursum Diaries translated. The diaries of the explorer and murderer Lars Westergren. He's unhelpfully translated them into Phrygian for privacy, but no longer. Now we can read them. The Concursum Diaries. There are map legends, there are maps of legends, and there are legends of maps. Aspects of the Mansa subsist in all of these, in much the same way that you find water in a swamp, and in a cup, and in the sky. Interesting. And we've gained a professional muscle. I'll break them in half. This hireling may be useful for some expeditions and can help with hunters and annoyances. 5 edge, quite useful, but you know, we do have Azim here with 12, so not that useful. Useful for ours still, for one thing. You see, there are things we need prisoners for, and how better to lure someone in than to hire them, right? But for now, I think first we'll pay a visit to the Ecdysis Club again. Maybe this time we'll get some contentment with any luck. Ah, this time no one understands this, or else they understand us too well. We've not succeeded in getting rid of that notoriety, so most likely there will now be a scandal at work. Ah, finally, contentment at the Ecdysis Club. There'll most likely be a scandal now, but it's nothing we can't deal with. And meanwhile, where are we located now? At the Heterodox Church. Betray and imprison a follower. This one must serve another purpose now. Into the cupboard they go. Bye-bye. Work at Glove. Son of a... Still no. The chance, I think, of a scandal happening when the card grabs notoriety is 70%, but still no. Sometimes luck works in mysterious ways, I'll say that much. I've locked this one away safely. When their screaming and raving subsides, I'll subdue them properly. More notoriety, of course, but we don't need to worry about that anymore. Another follower, another hireling we could hire and then, you know, take into the cupboard, but for now 5 prisoners should be more than enough. Despair. Dark days. I must be careful not to let doubts creep in. Despair is the wolf that devours thought. Despair pads close at my heels. The world is leached of light. But luckily, we were able to provide some contentment. If we're luckier, we might be able to provide some more. The Concursum Diaries. Westergren describes a series of expeditions into the Mansus. He focuses on the details of the experience, the colors, the vistas, the textures, rather than the particularities. He does warn that the Mansus changes each year, although he assures the reader that the doors have been the same. Doors may close, but they never disappear, at least not while there have been mortals in the Mansus. We're like mice, and we've gained another Fenian invocation. Nice, nice. Very nice. There is another text in Phrygian, which we can also begin to translate now. The Book of the White Cat. Stories brought to Penelope of Gordion by a blind white cat. Alright, if we're lucky, the dread crisis is almost over now. An early night. Sometimes I have dreamt of a tall woman in a sand-colored coat who stands at the foot of my bed, smiling as she watches me sleep. In that dream she turns her head with the swiftness of a bird, and her fingers flex like talons. I do not think I dreamt of her last night. If I had, I could not have slept so soundly. A fleeting reminiscence, not what we wanted, again, but better than some other things we could have gained. An early night, again. Wakefield isn't going to stay captured that much longer. Sooner or later we'll have to feed him to the door. But for now we'll visit the Ecdysis Club again. No contentment from painting, sadly. So, another notoriety to possibly invoke a scandal for the 3rd time. I'll say if it doesn't come to a scandal this time, I'll be seriously shocked. Alright, Book of the White Cat, translated. Let's see here. The Book of the White Cat. The aviform owls, the crow, the laughing thrush, the dove, and the twin kites have been known to meet in the mountains north of Gordion, a place called the Roost, to exchange gossip. The twin kites. The twin kites. What do they mean by that? The sister in witch and the witch in sister, but they're not aviform, I think. Well, whatever. At a place called the Roost to exchange gossip. Penelope indicates that mortals who hear their words directly are obliterated, but claims that her cat goes unnoticed and returns to her with rumors from the hour's meeting. Fascinating. So does that mean her cat is not mortal? I mean, I guess. Cats have 9 lives, not exactly mortal. Another evening at the Ecdysis Club. The mysteries of the Ecdysis Club. White moths eddy through the hall. They perch on the brims of wine glasses and sip. The audience applauds. The woman on stage moves as if she has the woman on stage moves as if she has too many limbs. Moths crowd my arms, nestle against my shoulder. In a little while, I'll step outside and look at the clear, cold stars. I assume I dreamt the whole thing. The smokes of the club are treacherous. Maybe, maybe not. Who can say? Despair abates. Memories of better times keep the wolf from the door, and we finally have the final piece of contentment we'll need to get rid of it fully. And sleep is a long dark ocean, but sometimes when we reach the farther shore there is lamplight, more contentment. Funnily enough, we don't need it for once, but oh well. I won't complain. So now yes, the despair is almost defeated. There it is. An expression of concern. I have been summoned into the presence of the elder Glover. The only Glover now. Not entirely true. The other Glover is still there, just, you know, somewhere else. The only Glover now. He shifts uncomfortably in his seat. I have heard, he begins. He hesitates. He looks me in the eyes. I don't want to hear anything anymore about that. Not another word. Not a word. Yes. Rumors of my esoteric interests have reached the ears of the elder Glover. This has left my position uncertain. But we still get paid. Which also now means that the position is somewhat uneasy. There won't be any more penalty from suffering a demotion from attending work irregularly, so for now we can put the board seat aside. It needn't trouble us at the moment. Instead, why not work on some commissions, though honestly there's not much need to do that either, if I'm entirely honest. Well, maybe a little bit. We're very close to the end of our journey now. All it takes is a few more pushes here and there. The Book of the White Cat. The stories that Penelope claims as our gossip are fragmentary and confusing. Accounts of contests where hope and dread and the shadowless empire are used as game pieces, agendas of ruin and remembrance from no known history. The most interesting element is the protective incantation. She records at the end of the book, after she worries that the hours might in fact learn of her spying. A velvet charm. The velvet always answers no, but we can shelter in that no like beasts in the crook of a tree. Use this in a riot with Byzantine tinct and a meteoric bullet, or other resources of equal power, to summon a percussigant. Yeah, getting a little crowded up here. Yeah, our cupboard, also known as, or our prison cell, also known as a New York apartment. That is very apt, I think. What to study, what to dream of. I think it's time to study these last two Vagabonds maps. Ah, despair abates. Memories of better times keep the wolf from the door. The clouds part, the wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. Alright. The dread is taken care of, and I believe with that it's a good place to call it for this night. So, let us save and exit. And I think it's time to say goodbye. It has been my pleasure to be your host this evening. I really feel like we're approaching the end of the game now, or at least of this run, I should say. We've almost explored all of the places in the Evening Isles and gathered some truly powerful artifacts and lore from it. There are a few more that I know are there that I still want to grab, but we have almost everything we need for our ascension now, so next time I think it will be time to begin the process of that ascension into the glory. Until then, of course, I'm very glad that you could find the time to join me tonight. Oh, and also, I should mention, maybe there is a chance that the next stream will in fact not be of Cultist Simulator, but instead an art stream. I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that I'm still trying to get back into the groove of digital art. It's been some time, but I did want for quite some time to do some art streams. I should say art and world building. You know, making some doodles and also talking about my own world building project, of which you've seen some of the products in the starting soon screen. But I'm not entirely decided on if I'll make the next stream more gameplay or in fact art. So we'll see when it comes to that. In the meantime, it has been my pleasure to be your host, as I've already mentioned. And I think it might be prudent to see if there's not anyone we can raid. There is actually. Hold on. I cannot raid on what's it called? YouTube, because you need to have 1,000 subscribers for that, but I can on Twitch. There is, in fact, for once, someone online that I might think to raid. I just need to remember how the command worked exactly. 1 second. /raid followed by the name of the channel you wish to raid. Alright, okay, let me just initiate that real quick. So, /raid and then the channel name. Right. Ah, unfortunate. Well, said channel does not allow raids. at this current time. A shame, but, well, it is what it is. So in that case, we'll just end it here. I hope you had a delightful evening or whatever time it may be for you. I certainly had, and see you another time.